Call to order the regular board meeting for Pleasantdale School District 107 Board of Education at 6 p.m. on April 16, 2025. Can we get a roll call, please?
Oh, she's helping me. I could do it real quick.
Okay.
Mr. Mason? Here. Mr. Brockob? Here. Ms. Lenzen?
Here.
Ms. Marchione?
Here.
Ms. Walters?
Here.
Mr. Zona? Here. Mr. Knapp? Here. We have us unanimously in session.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, so tonight we have two school community students of the year. Unfortunately, as luck would have it, one of our very important school community members of the year is busy tonight doing other important school community things. So we have our middle school Scotty winner here, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Arundel and Ms. Tomei to introduce our Scotty winners to lead us in the pledge.
All right. Kelsey Brockup, come on up. I've got really nice things to say about you. So the school citizen of the year for the middle school this year is none other than Miss Kelsey Brockup. Kelsey is an exceptional student and person, and she is known for her kindness, inclusivity, and compassion. She excels in academics while participating in student council, choir, the school musicals, basketball, did I miss anything? And softball, because softball's going on now, and is always willing to help peers. Kelsey embodies the Tiger Way, the values of respect, responsibility, and safety, inspiring everyone around her. We will miss her greatly as she moves to LT next year. Congratulations.
And if it's all right, I just want to mention that Madeline Garros is our elementary school citizen of the year. And she was, again, unable to join us tonight, but I'll give her due. Madeline is hardworking and always striving to do her best. She regularly participates in class, even when presented with new information or the content becomes hard. She is especially considerate of others and helps people when they need it. Madeline goes out of her way to make sure that others feel welcome, especially students who are new to our school community. She is kind-hearted, always willing to lend a helping hand. A kind, compassionate, caring student, Madeline truly embodies our Pleasantdale Eagle Way, and we are proud to call her our 2025 Scotty Award winners.
Lead us in the pledge?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, records. My God. How can we forget? These are so incredibly clever, you guys. So the 5th grade advanced math students decided to create an artistic representation of the distributive property. They chose compound words and made the connection to how these can correlate with math. According to the distributive property, multiplying the sum of 2 or more antecedents by the number will give the same result as multiplying each addend individually by the number and then adding the products together. There we get all that? To distribute means to divide something or give a share or part of something to something else. While doing this project, the students are able to work together and create complex math equations, and they are just so clever. And if you get a chance, I like the starfish and Starbucks equation. Very, very cool. So if you get a chance, check them out. They are super cool and very clever. Way to present math from our teachers and amazing work from our students. So thank you.
Good art skills.
All right. Care bears. All right.
Okay. Next, we're going to move into item 3, open forum. Please know that all individuals addressing the board will be afforded 3 minutes. We also limit to 15 minutes on any one topic, and we'll take the green forms in the order they were received. The green forms are out in the hallway. If you have a question, we will acknowledge all who have completed the green forms in the minutes of this meeting. Any questions addressed to the board will be answered by the administration within 48 hours. Additionally, for clarification and to ensure that your specific questions are answered, we request that the questions be submitted in writing on the green forms. We have a couple green forms. We'll start, we have some student speakers here tonight. So we have Abby Ryan, Owen Nedemeyer, Emily, and I don't know if you guys want to come up individually or together. It's up to you. And then Kaya. So whoever wants to go.
Want to go first?
Anyone want to go first, or you want me to random?
Oh, she doesn't want to go first.
Okay, we're gonna.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
We are here to respectfully share our concerns about the recent changes to recess and how students are being split into groups. While we understand that there may be reasons behind this decision, it has a big impact on our friendships, our happiness at school, and our ability to practice what we've been taught in other parts of our day. In our WIN class, we've been learning a lot about relationships, building healthy friendships, and how important it is to work well with others. Recess is one of the only times we get to practice those skills in a more natural and real setting. But when we're separated from our close friends and placed with people we may not have a strong connection with, it makes it really difficult to use what we're learning. In some cases, it even creates more stressful and discomfort instead of helping us grow. We also feel like this decision takes away one of the only few parts of the day where we get to make choices and enjoy time with people we care about. Friendships are a big part of feeling safe, supported, and happy at school, and recess has always been a time when we could relax, recharge, and be ourselves. Right now, that feeling is being taken away. We'd like to suggest an alternative. Instead of being randomly assigned to groups and students could choose at least 2 people or more they'd like to be grouped with. That way, we will still get some freedom and comfort while still allowing structure if that's needed. We believe this would be a better balance and a more respectful way to support students while still meeting whatever goals the school has in mind. We hope you'll consider our voices in this matter. We care about our school, our learning, and our relationships, and we believe there's a better way to support all of those things than what's currently being done. Thank you for listening.
Well done.
Good job.
And we also have some signatures from students at our school who would want to also change this to the alternative or just have recess back as a whole.
Great. Can you give this to Miss Wheeler and she'll make sure the board gets them?
And we also understand that recess is a privilege and not many schools get it, but we think that we would be a lot better in class if we had with recess because we take out our energy during it. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
listening.
you.
Good job, guys.
Good job.
Owen, you want to come up? Sure.
I don't think this punishment is, I am one that admire, and I don't think this punishment is. This punishment is not reasonable punishment because splitting up kids who push does not stop the kids from pushing. In solution, there could be a punishment punishing the kids who push and not the whole grade. In conclusion, punishing the whole grade for acts of few students is unfair and ineffective. Thank you for your time.
Abby?
Good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Paulette, and administrators. My name is Abby Ryan, and I am in the 6th grade at Pleasantdale Middle School. Our main problem is that our recess was drastically changed based on the behavior of only a handful of students. The behavior that caused these implications was pushing, scooching, and chanting, which we can all agree are incredibly inappropriate behaviors. The new recess alterations were made without informing parents, some teachers, and most students. If you don't already know, the 6th grade recess was split into 3 groups. One is outside, one is in the art room, and the other is in the small gym for recess, with the rotation being weekly. This will have each group staying inside for 2 consecutive weeks. Remember, there are only 7 weeks left of the school year, which will result in each group only going outside 2 weeks. I have taken the time to create a survey so that I will be a better representative of my peers. Since there was short notice, I was only able to survey about 40-ish% of my class. The statistics show that 94.6% of the respondents did not like the new split-up recess or the groups they were put in. An overwhelming number of people said they didn't like it simply because their friends were not in the group. Here's an example of one of the responses. I do not like it because I have put so much work into my friendships that I can't spend time with friends anymore because I'm split up. This person doesn't seem to have many classes with their friends, and now they can't see them anymore because of this. People don't just not like this because they're not with their friends, but also having restrictions. Here are some examples of responses that show it's not just about not having your friends. Like this person said, I don't like it. The weather is getting nice and we are stuck inside. This is completely true. The weather is getting warmer and we aren't allowed to go outside unless we're in the outside group. Then there's another response similar that acknowledges something else. I don't mind my group, but I would rather have all my friends in my class and fresh air and sunshine, vitamin D, instead of being stuck inside a room. Like this person said, we are inside, and especially coming out of winter, we need more vitamin D. A few days ago, I took my time to write to the administration, and I was met with a reply that included something along the lines of, we are not doing this as a punishment. But in a few of the responses, it has been interpreted as a punishment. Like one of my peers said, why is the entire grade getting punished for something a handful of kids did? Most of us weren't pushing, screaming, or causing any trouble. The kids who cause trouble should be the only people that are punished, not everyone else. It's frustrating and honestly feels unfair. If this was supposed to fix the problem, this has only made things worse for the people who were never even a part of the problem. This response expresses how there were only few kids causing trouble and we all got punished.
Before we move on to the next speaker, I just want everyone to kind of take a moment to recognize these students who came tonight. It takes a lot of courage to get up and speak in general, but in a room full of adults, to a group of adults. So we're really proud of you guys using your voices to advocate for something that you care about. So thank you for coming and not only just presenting a problem, but also coming up with some solutions that, administration can think about and hopefully, implement some changes for you guys to, make things better. So thank you again for coming.
The public speaking unit went a long way. Good job.
Okay, and then next we have a green form from Tom Ara.
Thank you. I want to say you guys did a great job. I wish I could do as good as you did. I'm here today as a resident and follow up to last month's request for commitment by District 107 School Administration and Board to record future community communication events, including comments, and make those recordings available to the community. I was surprised at the response I received, which the whole District 107 Board received. We were copied on it, regarding our ability to record, what I got as a response was, we will continue to evaluate each situation and make the best decision possible regarding our ability to record and disseminate video and or audio recordings. District 107 is making choices with inconsistent communication to the community residents on additional facility proposals. Examples are, in October of 2023, the community presentation for the new third campus was recorded. However, the question and answer session was not made available as part of the recorded presentation. That was odd, as the questions were significant, and I was there. So I understand those questions were significant. March 10th meeting related to the possible purchase of the Burridge Village Hall was only available in person or online in real time and not recorded. That seemed very odd. If you could transmit something like that online, why couldn't it be recorded and make the presentation available? If the camera is making I've heard excuses of poor room acoustics and video quality, but then pick the right venue to make the presentation and record the event for the community. These are excuses that are all in your control. Maybe last month's community meeting would have been made more sense to be held at the Burridge Village Hall. The village records board meetings and the community would have seen some of the facility. Seems simple to me. In the end, the District 107 administration and school board have control over communication to the community. I believe the more you communicate, the better the feedback, eventually the solution and the community support. I continue to look forward to the ongoing 5th grade realignment and a pre-K enhancement solution. Please continue to think outside the box on facility solutions and not be limited to the current boundaries presented.
That's all we have for green forms.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Next, we're gonna move on to item 4, the school board election. So item 4A is proclamation of results. So can we get a motion that the Board of Education accepts the results of the municipal election held on April 1st, 2025?
Oh.
Second.
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. London? Yes. Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchione? Yes. 4B is seat elected board members and oath of office. Now that we have accepted the results of the election, we can administer the oath of office to our incumbent board members. If Becky, Mary, and Sean will join me, I was like, wait, where's my name in this? Will join me at the front of the room. The longest seating board member, Charles Zona, will administer the oath of office.
It's all right.
Suffer through it.
They're not gonna stand.
I know, it's so fun.
Sorry.
We're aligned.
Okay. I'm gonna read,
Oh, boy.
this here.
You write something yourself?
Yeah.
Don't tear up, Blaine.
There's a few typos. And then, at the end, you just, affirm.
I agree.
Yeah. Is that good?
That works.
Okay. I, and then you guys will put your name in there, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Pleasantdale School District 107 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Pleasantdale School District 107. I shall assist in establishing a structure and environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community's schools to advance the vision of Pleasantdale School District 107. I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. And since the board president is as part of this, yeah, I think that's it.
That's all. All you have to do is agree.
Yeah, so we
Agree.
can
Agree.
affirm.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You got the hard job.
Congratulations. Newly sworn in board members.
Okay.
Thank you for watching that. Witnessing.
Congratulations.
It is, guys. It's a big deal.
All right. So next we're gonna move on to item 4C. Before we select the officers, we need to seat a president pro tempore to preside over the election of president. Dave Pelzett has agreed to serve as the president pro tempore until the board president is elected.
So, you just need to do, you, while still president, you do a motion that Dave Pelzett preside.
Okay, so motion, okay, so a motion that Dave Pelzett serves as president pro tempore to preside over the election of the president of the Board of Education. So we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Okay, here we go. So we are set to elect our officers. We'll start with president, and then it'll go over the power of president. We'll go to back to the president. So can I have a motion, or do we have any nominations for president?
I'll nominate Terry.
A second.
Any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, Taryn Marchion has been nominated for president. So we have a motion that Taryn Marchion serve as president of the Board of Education for a term of 2 years effective April 16th, 2025. Do we have a?
So moved.
Okay, all right.
Am I allowed to?
You are.
Oh.
Second? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenson?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchion?
Yes.
Joy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and now you are
Okay.
president, you preside over vice president and secretary.
Okay, so next, we'll move to the election of the vice president of Board of Education effective April 16, 2025. So do we have a nomination for the office of vice president?
I would like to nominate Becky Walters.
I will second it.
You have to read the
Okay,
motion
so-
first. I'm, that Becky Walters serve as vice president.
Yes, so do we have a motion that Becky Walters serve as vice president of the Board of Education for a term of 2 years effective April 16, 2025?
So moved.
I'll second.
Ooh, Bill Braca. And second?
Mary.
Got it. Roll call vote?
Okay, Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenson?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchion? Yes. Okay, next we'll move to the election of the Secretary of the Board of Education without pay. Do we have any nominations for the office of Secretary? I will nominate Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we get a motion that Mary Lenzen serve as the Secretary of Board of Education without pay for a term of 2 years effective April 16th, 2025? So moved.
Oh.
Second.
Nice.
Who's first?
Becky was first. She got it.
Becky Walters, Bill Braca. Is that what you have? Mary?
Yep.
Roll call?
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchion? Yes.
Congratulations, officers.
Thank you.
Condolences.
Okay, so next we'll move into item 5D, which is establish a regular meeting date, time, and location, and publish the schedule. So can we get a motion that the Board of Education hold regular meetings at 6 p.m. on the third Wednesday of each month in the boardroom located at the district office? There are no meetings in July scheduled at this time. The dates of the August meeting will be held a week earlier to accommodate the posting of the tentative budget, and the December meetings will be held a week earlier to accommodate the holidays.
Can I just ask about December? So is it gonna be on the 10th or the 17th?
10th.
Yeah, no, just,
Next year, and then I
Just
think it's like the
curious.
9th or 10th the following.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just got confused. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone want to give a motion?
Oh, I'll do it. So moved, Mary.
And then a second? All right.
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenson?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchion? Yes. All right, next is item 5E, appointment of the IASB Board Representative. Do we have anyone who's interested in serving as the board representative on the Illinois Association of School Boards?
Oh,
Go.
that's wonderful.
Did it? That's my guy.
Whatever.
Next year we'll nominate Sean, but.
Alright, perfect. So can we get a motion that Bill Brockup serve as the IASB representative for the Board of Education for a 2-year term effective April 16th, 2025?
So,
Second.
you can't take it back.
Roll call?
Mr. Brockup?
Yes.
Mrs. Lundson?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall? Yes. Perfect, congratulations, Bill. Okay, next is item 6, the consent agenda. So moving on to the consent agenda, it consists of the following. Item 6A, approve the regular meeting minutes of the March 19, 2025 meeting. 6B, approve closed session minutes of the March 19, 2025 meeting. 6C, approve payment of the March payroll and April warrants. Sean was our checker this month. Anything to report back? Look good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. 5D, approve final staffing recommendations, and 6E, approve auditing services of fiscal year 2025 through 2029. So can I get a, what are you pointing to?
No.
Okay, I was like, did I miss
There's something
something? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Second? Okay, can you read that? Mr. Brocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lundson?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall? Yes.
Alright.
Next is item 7, approve resolution withdrawing from the jurisdiction of trustees of schools and appointing the school treasurer. So can I get a motion to approve the resolution withdrawing the jurisdiction of the Lyons Township trustees of schools and appointing a new school treasurer?
So moved.
Oh, I'll second.
Mr. Brocco?
Yes.
Mrs. London?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes. Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall? Yes. Next is item 8, administrative reports. Turn it over to Dave.
Thank you. So our first administrative report is the superintendent's advisory team meeting for facilities. Becky and Bill both attended the meeting on April 7th that Griffin and our maintenance director, Brian Carr, provided some information on some of the past projects that we've done and kind of a look into their crystal ball into the future. And I will turn over to Bill and Becky to just give a little bit of information about that meeting.
Okay, sure. So we talked about some of the summer, we reviewed the last summer's projects and then talked about this summer's projects. Notably at the elementary school, we're going to start working on a refresh of the APR. So some new padding on the walls, painting, looking into new flooring. Also notably, we're in our final phase of the safety film on the windows, so that's really exciting both at the elementary school and the middle school. So that's a really great improvement from the safety standpoint. Also safeties and like new smoke detectors and whatnot. At the middle school, additional solar panels, and we're also notably working on the safety features of the play area and separating them, which is a priority. So that was exciting, and they're also looking into the larger scheme of the play area for those students and kind of figuring out what exactly we want to look for or what we really want to do to improve that area for the students. Yeah, and then we've talked about some of those future projects, including the APR at the elementary school, the South Gym at the middle school, and then like I just mentioned the permanent play area at the middle school.
Yeah, and there were some other roofing here at the middle school, the seal coating of the lot, and then just kind of ideas for the future, as Becky was saying, kind of like the floor for the South Gym, or maybe refreshing that, and what does that actually look like, and a few other things. So it was very positive, a lot of ideas floating around, and yeah. Looking, this year seems to be like set for the summer, and then next year, you know, we're going to have a lot of things to make decisions on, which is great.
Great, thank you guys. Thanks for being there. And thanks for letting us bounce ideas off of you and giving us feedback in that setting. It's really, really helpful. Which leads us right into our next presentation. Oh, of course.
So sorry.
I'm sorry.
Do we have, and maybe Griffin, you know, do we have an update on the signage that we, under safety, we ordered a lot of new
He's
signage?
going to be doing a presentation in 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
you're
I
good.
thought we were switching gears, so sorry.
No, you're
Oh,
good.
okay.
And
We'll
so
come back.
we are talking about, that was a great lead-in to Griffin's presentation, which is a more detailed review of some of the summer projects that we're going to be doing. No, you're good. And it just, the way timing worked out with some of the facilities, the facilities advisory team meeting, which is a little bit later than we usually do it, so it kind of, perfect world, we would have done it last month, and then there's been a little bit of time, but still, Griffin has some good information to share, some similarity to what Becky and Bill shared, but some new information as well. So.
Yeah, just a few tweaks and a few updates, but I'll go relatively quickly. That was a great summary of everything.
Sorry for the spoiler.
It was kind of like just the summary before. I'll throw some details up. So only got like 6 slides for you, but we'll take a lot of the ideas that they just talked about and just fill in a few details and then answer some questions that you might have with those details. So. Just real quick for tonight, so quick review, move on to this summer and then future. So exactly what Board Member Walters said. So last summer, you remember the board and the community invested in the new HVAC project at the elementary school. Overall, feedback has been so positive. The staff just talks about how they don't have to raise their voices over the moving, the noise of the univents. Although they're kind of taking up more space along the windows, they feel like they have more space in their rooms because they can put kids and desks next to it. They can stack things on top of it, and it's magnetic, so they can put, they have a lot more space where they can put up, words and different parts, different posters and all sorts of things. So. Very, very positive feedback, and I know Dr. Plessette jokes that I was excited about it before we did it. Like, now I'm even more excited about it, to the point where, like, at the conference that we're going to, my conference, the business officials in 2 weeks, like, I am doing a presentation with a couple other people, and the presentation is called Kicking Univents to the Curb. So, like, as we move forward, to me, we're a model for what schools should be when they have to retrofit or when they're building new. And we've been inviting schools to come see Pleasantdale. It's one more way that we're putting Pleasantdale on the map, which is really, really cool because it's the absolute best learning environment for kids. And then the fresh air that's coming in. I don't know if you guys all looked at the attendance today, but it was amazing at both schools. So. I'm not saying it's related to this.
Where are we going with that one?
In the future, we're tracking so that we can look at, because it is fresh air and it is the way the system pulls the germs out of the air differently than just recirculating, like the univents. The changes per hour of air in the rooms are much more frequent and all of that. So other great parts from your perspective as well. On time, under budget, we always have an allowance in budget projects like this. We did not touch the allowance at all, so that means we're just not paying that amount, which is great. And there were 0 change orders because of the process we used called design build, where they did miss some things, they did incur some additional costs, they didn't pass those on to us. So there are just a few outstanding items, so when I say that it's done, the bulk of it's done. It's just a few outstanding items that the contractor's been in to close out. So overall, again, I want to thank you on behalf of the elementary school. It's really a great setup and great system. So as we move towards this summer, there isn't really one big project. We've got a lot of I would say smaller projects, but smaller things that are going to happen. So. And we're still investigating a few of these, but we're kind of moving in the direction of this. So at the elementary school, we've identified that storage room connected to the gym. that would be another space where we could turn into offices / therapy space, OT/PT type of activities. It's connected to the gym, so they can share equipment, utilize the space when the gym's not being used. We're still waiting for final pricing on that. The gym refresh that Ms. Walters talked about, starting with phase 1. Bathroom updates, we're talking about phase 1 there too, and we're looking at staff bathrooms at the elementary for this phase, and then we're going to move into student bathrooms, and we're investigating kind of some creative ways to upgrade the student bathrooms in the future with all that's going on in schools and bathrooms and all of that. So Apple Ready classrooms continuing. Safety film was mentioned already. Hopefully this will be kind of the last phase of the safety film, but we have really worked hard to make our schools a hardened place for things to happen. So they're much safer than they were 3 years ago. Classroom safety shades for when we need to go into lockdown. Those were actually installed at spring break. Always there's a few we got to still do, so we're working on that. More signage, so it's there, it'll happen. We've got some of the camera signs up now, somewhat recently, and we've got more signage to come to make it clear. So we did a good landscape project last year. We got to do some maintenance, as you can see when you drive up. And then various life safety and painting, plumbing, kind of our typical kind of refreshing areas that we do each summer. So that's the bulk of elementary. Middle, much of the same, starting at if you started at the bottom, but we'll start at the top. So solar panels, all ready to go for that. So that will start the install for the solar panels, and we're really excited about that. Separation of play areas, again, proposed is kind of a smaller way to do it this year because we got proposals for the kind of the big way to redesign that whole back area here at the middle school, and it just we need to keep sharpening our pencil on that. It was very expensive with kind of the ideal situation. So then we're looking at the gym, also the south gym at the middle school. So again, phase 1, look at pads, painting, cleaning, and then go from there. And next slide will show a few future things in that area. Classroom furniture refresh. So we've been doing the new furniture at the elementary school, a grade level a year for the last bunch of years now, and now we're moving up to 6th grade at the middle school. So that'll be that flexible furniture that will help guide instruction so that within one class period you might have start the period with partner work and 2 desks together across the room. Then you might move into, hey, get together in a small group and share out, and you can just unlock your desk, wheel over, you got 4 of you together, and then maybe the last 5 minutes you do an individualized assessment where you split up and now each desk is separate and you fill out an exit slip individually. And so in one period, without having to drag desks and put tennis balls on feet and all that stuff, you can move around move around the desk to change the instruction, which will also increase engagement for kids, because just like us, when we sit like this for 37 minutes, you know, you can lose engagement. So break it up and go. So excited to move that to the middle school, and we've got plans to, over the next 4 years, basically refresh, probably 5 with all the classrooms, but try to do a grade level a year, and then hit everything else. Safety film there too, safety shades same. North gym, we always, yearly we seal that to keep that gym in great shape. Parking lot seal coating is needed over here, and we've got a little bit of patchwork that we're getting some quotes on. If you've been through the drive lately, there's that spot right out there that comes up every few years, and so seal coating again is recommended, and then replacement is in the near future, but down the line a little bit. And then signage and painting and plumbing and maintenance and that sort of things. Future ideas, so PES, really kind of that refresh in the gym and the APR, so more phases would be paint, flooring, the removable wall. We've had maintenance have to fix that a few different times, so we should look at replacing that. And in the replacement, put a put a replacement door, or put a door in one of the sections, and so instead of having to open it to get there, you just open the door and you can actually supervise both areas for like before and after school care and stuff like that. So we've got ideas for that. And then at the middle school South Gym, its roof is there needed. There's some unused mechanicals in the top of it. There's windows that need to be replaced, and some tuck pointing, some brickwork that needs to be done, paint, flooring, that sort of thing. So that's a little bit larger of a refresh, but also needs to happen. But it also doesn't have to be like the contest gym of the North Gym. So we're going to be very thoughtful about as we do that. At PMS, the art room needs a refresh in the future, nearer future. That permanent play area, that'll be kind of a next summer thing, or like summer of 26, we really need to work hard to come up with the permanent solution there. Again, more tuck pointing, and district office roofs are still on the list within the next 5 years, and the parking lot out here also within the next 5 years. So I think Brian Carr has a really good handle on this, working with the principals. We've continued to talk about all of these items, and we have a plan going forward. So this is great, and these things can all happen within our budgets. So that's the good part. Is over the next few years we'll keep budgeting appropriately and bite off the chunks that we can bite off to get these done. And here's my quote. We've been playing with AI a little bit. So there you go. I asked it for a quote, and this is what it gave me, and I was like, oh, and then it gave me it in that Roboto font. So I was like, perfect, makes sense.
I mean, it's a good one.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Griffin.
Thanks, Griffin.
All right, facilities development. So over the course of the past couple of years, the district and the board has been looking for ways to address 4 main priorities. It's my intention tonight to review these priorities and determine if these are still the focus of the board or if the district should go in a different direction. So I have just a couple of slides. I don't really need to address or go to the podium, but if you could advance to the first slide. These are all slides actually that you guys have seen. They were part of the, yeah, there we go, part of the community forum. So again, in 2023, we had a stakeholder group made up of parents, community members, elected officials, village officials, who came together to talk about some of the priorities and some of the future, the priorities of the district and some of the needs for the future. And essentially there were 4 main priorities that we've been working through over the course of the last couple of years. And again, just as a quick review, we want to make sure that our schools are the safest place possible. As you saw in Griffin's presentation, as we talked about, the facilities committee, safety is always our top priority. So again, it isn't like if these things aren't done, we're not going to make our schools safe, but we always have safety at the top of every list, right? So this is no different. So safety and security is always something that is top of mind. Looking to address space issues now and into the future, Griffin talked about converting that storage area that is now full of music stands and folding chairs. We're going to have to find another place for those music stands and folding chairs to go because we don't have enough space to offer some of the therapy programs to our students. So we're going to have to convert, take spaces that weren't meant to be instructional or therapy spaces and turn them into therapy spaces as best we can. So again, there are space issues even now, and we expect further space issues in the future. Shovels are already in the ground at the corner of German Church and Wolf Road, and we expect more of that to come. Expanding early childhood opportunities to allow for full-day preschool, and then also address the preschool wait list. We want every family to be able to get their choice, whether that's half-day AM, half-day PM, full-day. We want them to be able to engage in our high-quality preschool with high-quality, highly trained teachers. I might be a little biased, but I think we have the best program around, and I want our kids in the best program around. And then finally, to provide a developmentally appropriate experience for our fifth graders. As you know, our fifth graders right now are at the middle school. Our intention would be to find a way to bring them to the elementary school and give them one more year. As one community member put it, give them another year to be little. So again, that was one of the priorities that came out. And just I grabbed some, just kind of screen grabbed or copy and pasted some information from the presentation that we had done on the 10th. So I just have a couple of slides that dig into just a little bit further detail of each one of these, and then we'll loop back to these four, and then just have a conversation. Are these still our priorities? Okay. Can you advance the next slide? Thank you. So again, safety, this is kind of what I said. It's always the number one priority. We're going to continue to make our schools safe. We're going to continue to find ways to harden our schools but also make them inviting places for kids, right? We're not putting barbed wire up, we're not putting fences around the schools, but we are going to put sheeting on the windows so they're harder to get into. We are going to make sure that there's a visitor management system and things like that our cameras are working, all of those things. You can advance to the next slide. Again, this is pulled right from the slide from the community forum. Like I said, we're in a space crunch right now. We've converted spaces that weren't necessarily meant for classrooms or therapy spaces or small group spaces into those types of spaces, kids learning in the halls, things like that. No empty classrooms in either building. We do anticipate future growth. Again, 26 row homes going up in Willow Springs. Anticipating more construction, and then over the course of the next several years. And then again, we do have a community that is ripe for turnover. So as the U.S. Census information, over 50%, 27% over 50, and then let me read it so I don't get it wrong. The district has one of the largest population of residents over 50, and 27% of the population is 65 or older. So again, we anticipate some homes turning over, which generally those homes are then occupied by younger families. Next slide. Again, expanding early childhood. We've always been a leader in early childhood. We were one of the first districts in the state to offer early childhood. We were one of the first districts in the area to offer full-day kindergarten for free. We would want to have additional full-day seats and AM and PM options. Essentially, in the past, we've had those options and had to cut them due to space. So again, cannibalizing our own programs is never something that we want to do, but we do out of necessity. And then lasting benefits. We all know that there are benefits to early intervention. The sooner we can intervene with our little ones, the better outcomes they have as they get older. It also, early intervention for students with special needs typically allows those kids to move off of those individual education plans, which actually makes them less expensive to educate in the future. All right, one more slide. And then that fifth grade kind of better fit for fifth grade. We know, a 10-year-old is probably more apt to be able to work, to feel comfortable around other kind of younger kids than they are around 14-year-olds. We've kind of, in our fifth grade and our middle school, the administration, the teachers have done an amazing job really creating a nurturing environment at the middle school, but we're still shoehorning fifth graders into a middle school model. Obviously, social emotional piece is so important now, handling some of those increased expectations and lockers and schedules and, moving to the different classes and things like that can be difficult. And then also those higher academic expectations, but the curriculum generally is either written kind of K-5 or pre-K-5 and then 6-8. So having those fifth graders, those fifth grade teachers separated makes collaboration with fourth grade difficult, doesn't really fit. So you have your fifth grade on a different math program than 6, 7, and 8, a different ELA program than 6, 7, 8. Just makes it a little bit, that academic piece more difficult. So just again, real quickly, I didn't want to belabor it, but a little bit of background regarding each one of the priorities. So Jenny, if you can go back to the slide that actually just has the 4 priorities. And I just wanted to open it up to the board. Are these still the things that, so if these are still the priorities, and if the board wants me to start to develop plans to address these issues, I need to know if these are the priorities. Because if they're not, it's gonna change how the plan looks, right? If fifth grade at the elementary school is no longer a priority for the board, or isn't something you want to be included in the plan, well, that requires space, and that's gonna be a different plan, right? So I don't wanna go down a path that the board can't necessarily support. I wanna make sure that I'm hearing you, meeting your needs, that we kind of all could coalesce around those priorities, and that way when I come up with plans, I'm meeting your expectations, essentially. So, let me have it.
I agree that these still stand as priorities, from my perspective as a board member. I think one of the things that I would appreciate consideration being given to is, we talk about these space issues at both schools, and, we're converting a lot of spaces and trying to make do with some of these, but would the board support bringing in maybe like a space utilization consultant or expert to look at how we're using these spaces and say, like, this is maybe not an efficient way, and you could move this here and maybe have a room that's, hot spotting desks for people who don't need a full-time desk, and kind of maybe creating space that we're not thinking of in some of these. And I'm not saying that's going to solve, your preschool or even meet your fifth graders, but I do think that maybe there is some better ways that we can utilize some of the space that we have today than we are, and not negating that anyone here is not a space expert,
Right.
but I think,
having that was a job.
having a professional come in that, has expertise in those areas, and particularly maybe even in schools, I think could really open our eyes to ways we're not using some of these spaces as efficiently as we could be.
That's great. Good idea. Good idea.
I agree. I mean, when we took the tour, of the elementary school, kind of like looking at those spaces, it seemed like we could definitely see some of the concerns, but also looked like perhaps there were certain rooms that could have been utilized at different times for different things, install and create solutions. So I think having someone come in, just an outside set of eyes would be
Absolutely.
helpful.
Other thoughts? And there may be other things that the board wants to do that aren't on this plan, right? Like STEM labs, or hey, we want bring back home ec, bring back industrial arts, bring back or other new. We want to make sure that all kids get some sort of new programming or new experience. Again, this is the time to share that stuff, right? Because if we come up with a plan and then we're like, oh wait, STEM labs would be great. Well,
Yeah.
that wasn't part of the, I guess I can add it, but it wasn't necessarily part of the original plan. It kind of changes the scope. So, and again, this is not a speak now or forever hold your peace type of thing, but it's hopeful as we create plans if I have an idea of what path to go down.
Yeah, that's actually something that I was going to bring up when we sent out that public opinion survey. One of the priorities and one of the top items for the community was the improving STEM at the middle school. So just something to consider. I don't want to add another thing to the list.
No, but this is the time to do
But it was one
that.
of the things that the community had indicated was a higher priority than perhaps some of the other items on the list.
Does the board feel that way? Do they agree? I want to make sure that we hear
I
everyone's
don't know
voice.
about labeling it as STEM, but a program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Could be STEM, could be
Expanding the offerings, kind of.
yeah,
So
great
yeah.
maker space.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have a
Shop.
label. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What would make it a STEM opposed to what the science lab is then?
Right, so the question in the survey said improving STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math instruction by adding a science lab at the elementary school and creating larger instructional areas at the middle school. So I think it kind of moves it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the elementary school, part of that too is when, one of the priorities appears bringing the fifth grade back there, then that would create more space for, or not more space, but that would, a need for a science lab, because fifth graders need that. And personally, I would think that moving fifth grade to elementary, at least for me, is one of the bigger priorities. And I don't know, well, not everyone here has going into a fifth grader, but the presentation that they gave showed a couple kids that they came in as a fifth grader and they left as an eighth grader. And it was like two different people. And it was just, that just shows how big the difference is between, a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I think that's important, as far as development, keep kids longer.
Yeah, Cam was 9 when he started at the middle school.
He's on the young end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other
60
thoughts?
million.
I mean, this is like, I really wanna try and have kind of, like, let's have the family conversation, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know safety and security, obviously, I mean, I know we touched on the middle school, kind of the play area facilities, and we're addressing it kind of in a phase one approach, but I think that's
Great.
really, that, as a board member, as a parent,
Great.
and kind of just seeing some of the struggles, I mean, you saw the kids come in today talking about recess, but I think there's not a lot for them to do, you know, and maybe if we had more activities and more formal play areas, it would maybe kind of alleviate some of this, you know,
Great.
headbutting and stress that they're experiencing.
Great.
It might just be that there's not enough to
Yes.
keep them busy
Lots of
out there,
nods from
and
the
so,
administration.
yeah, I do, yeah. So I would rank that a little, you know, specifically that project under the safety, I would rank that high, on my thoughts of priorities, is really giving them a space and giving them activities and things to burn their energy and not be pushing and shoving each other and having things to do out there.
Yeah, great, love it. Thank you.
I agree. And it also seems like more obtainable, immediately obtainable of a goal than some of these other long-term solutions.
I think some, maybe the harder part of it would be, I think that we gotta address the space issue, because not just what we have now, but, I mean, and not that what's being developed now, that's not gonna change necessarily a ton, but at the same time, L2 property, I mean, they have a long list of things they need to do facility-wise, and they're gonna need the money for it. And so, and I'm not telling them their business at all, but, you know, if they go to referendum, you know what, people are probably gonna approve the referendum if that's sitting on a property here, you know, that they can sell that they're not using. So that means that they're gonna sell. I mean, it's very clear that it's, the community supports a non-industry property, so it's residential, and so that usually includes more students. And so I think it would be irresponsible for us not to, because they say they're not gonna sell tomorrow, but say they sell tomorrow, then all of a sudden now we're scrambling on what our options are. And when we build, even if we buy land and build ground up, it's twice as much as what we were just talking about. And I think that's gonna be our big problem going forward, is that price tag, especially if we were just basically told no on the offer that just came through. Fine, it's gonna be double that ground up. And I think that's something that we need to address sooner than later, so it's not triple what it could have been. And I think that's tough decisions, but I think that's what you have to do.
I think that's a good point. I think we should reach back out to LT also and kind of regroup now that their new board members are gonna be seated, and we still kind of have that outstanding ask about the land, and see, you know, where their heads are at, and like figure out if that is still in play or if it's off the table, and we need to figure out what their plans are for that, or if they have any potential buyers, so we can plan accordingly
Sure.
as well.
Even if it's years down the road, it's
Yeah.
still a slow process, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that idea.
And I second what Bill's saying in terms of the practicality of getting something done. I think we can all come up with a number of other ideas and add-ons to the priority list. But we turned down a price tag of about 12 million. It's not gonna get any cheaper than that, especially as we continue to try to hit as many priorities as possible, which I think what we want to do as a board. But there has to be some wherewithal to be able to do a big project, and whether that's go to referendum, life safety bonds, like we at some point have to act, right? Not rashly, not imperfectly, but this is not gonna get better by just letting more time go by. We have to be more proactive in finding another solution. And I guess my experience from this last go around with Village Hall was that I guess I was surprised by the differing opinions about both early childhood and 5th grade, both on an individual board member level and a community level. So I don't know if we need to have a further conversation about both those issues, but I heard from the people who thought it was totally not, that it didn't make sense to move 5th grade, that the plans to offer expanded pre-K didn't make sense. So I guess the question for us and for me, I don't really have the answer, is are we reaffirming those two priorities? I guess, I don't, know that we necessarily need to vote on it, but I'd be curious to get some opinions on it.
When I first came on the board, 6 years ago, 5th grade test scores, and I can't remember all the details, but that was an issue. When they got from 4th grade, 5th grade map scores, kind of, I don't want to say tank, but.
They take it, there's a transition,
Yeah.
for sure.
So then, the administration, the teachers did everything in their power to assimilate the 4th graders to the middle school. Certain activities and visit days and older kids talking to them and stuff. So from an academic standpoint, I mean, the numbers were there, you know, the test scores were there. So that would lead me to, you know, be in favor of somehow getting the 5th graders back to the elementary.
Yeah,
school.
no, and I defer to Bill and those who've gone through the experience and the teachers and the administrators who make it the recommendation, but if we do that, right, it sounds easier to say move the 5th graders, right, that's great, but it's gonna create we have to build, right? Whether that's 4 classrooms, whether that's, whatever solution we're gonna come up with, it comes at a cost. And so are we willing to acknowledge that cost is gonna be paid off by the benefit of moving 5th grade? I think that's something as a board we need to decide, and again, I don't know if it's this moment, but I don't think we've had that frank conversation amongst us.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that, I mean, I definitely feel it's a priority, both preschool and the 5th grade. But I also want to be thoughtful of where we're at right now and where we're going to be in 10 years, right? And so, like, I think I don't want to just rush to build something when we don't know what we're building for, right? Like, if maybe it would change our stance of how we're building if there is a huge community that's being built in our district, and then we might be able to afford something in bigger picture now with levying a bigger community. But if it's something like a restricted age community where we're not going to need as much space, you know, since we wouldn't have as many students, then I think that would change our priorities a little bit to our build design, right?
No, and there's no easy answers here, right? We're trying to get a lot of boxes, and I think one of the Village Hall experiences taught us was that, while it did check a bunch of boxes, it came up short. And so, like, because of that, there wasn't enough support both at the board level and the community level, right? So we have to address all of those things, but again, just waiting is not a plan. You know, and I know that's not what you're saying, Beck, believe me, I understand that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying
No,
that.
of course not, but like 2 years plus into it, no one's arguing we're rushing, right? Like, I'm concerned that there's just a stasis of I think there's no easy answers, and I think it's easy to create priorities, right? And like Dave, I would love for you to come up with a feasible solution and a plan that's cost effective.
No pressure. I will
right,
do my best.
no pressure. No, but like
I will do my best.
as we sit here today, we effectively have nothing, right? And I don't know what we have the appetite to get accomplished at this point.
That's why I think that meeting with LT is really important to find out what's happening with that land so that we can plan accordingly. Because one, development nearby is not going to drastically change our blueprint, but a huge community will. So I just want to be thoughtful both from a fiscal standpoint as well as an academic standpoint of.
Yeah, and the tough part too is the options of what we have are dwindling as well. So it's just meaning that, what are the options? It's like,
Right.
okay, property goes away, property goes away, property goes away. Then it's, okay, well now we have to, add the classroom, and then create a huge elementary school. It's just like that's the pros and cons by not making a decision. And I think that's kind of like, I think the mentality needs to be look almost more for like a yes to something opposed to saying no to something. So it's just like that, it's just instead of no, well, what if, and it's just sort of like, well, no, let's think of a positive, how can we add a positive to this to make it wherever, everyone benefits from. Because to Sean's point with the Village Hall, to check all the boxes, no, but did it check some? Yeah, and then that's that balance of how many did it check, and obviously that came up short. But I just think it's just more of how can we say yes, not, well, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, it's easy to do that. Let's find what we can add to it, if that makes sense.
But I guess, Steve, again, without going through a plan, because you haven't done the work, but at this point, if we directed you to achieve these 5, go back into the drawing board and achieve these 4 priorities, like where are our options? Where are we?
I will work with my team and we will bring you options. I'm not exactly sure what they look like. Some of them may be, what I would say is, any options that I would bring to you guys, I would want them to be as close to a final option as possible. As a board, your goal should be to address issues now and address issues into the future, right? So the calculus that I've done is that at some point we're gonna need 30 classrooms, kindergarten through 5th grade. Because I figure 5 sections each. So for 4 sections now, 5 sections each, you're gonna need about 30 classrooms, right? So how can we figure out where those 30 classrooms are going to be? Is it an addition at the elementary school?
What's elementary school right now?
20, I wanna say it's at 22, 23, and those are regular classrooms, right? So we can take art, we can take music, we can take, convert more space in the library. Like, there are some things that we can do. But I figure we need probably 8 to 10 classrooms to really be comfortable, and that's in the future. And so I don't want anyone to be like, he's building just to build, or they're building just to build. We can build 4 classrooms, and that will could address the 5th grade issue or whatever, but it doesn't address future growth, some of the future growth that we're gonna see. So, my goal would be, based on the priorities, and it sounds like these are still priorities, right? These are still the kind of focus, these 4 things, in addition, right? It sounds like we would need about, I would say, at least 8 classrooms, right? And so where can we make that happen? How can we make that happen? Again, I have some ideas. I hesitate to share them here because they're not fully fleshed out, and I don't want to, I'm an under-promise, over-deliver kind of guy, not an over-promise, under-deliver kind of guy. So I want to really work through them, work with our architect, work with our team to figure out what's feasible. I mean, I also don't want to create new problems, like Mary's still got to get to her driveway every day. You know what I mean?
Just widen that.
Right, and so I don't want to create.
High-five the bus driver.
I don't want to create a situation where Mary's like, oh, can't go to the store between the hours of this, or this and this. So, so again, all things to figure out, but this is why we do the work. This is the exciting part of the work. And again, we'll work together and we'll come up with the right solution. I really do believe, and again, you've heard me here. I believe that the Village Hall was a good solution. It wasn't the right solution. And I think as a group, we'll figure out what the right solution is. And we'll keep tweaking, keep adjusting until we get to that right solution. So kind of a long non-answer to you, Sean. I apologize.
No,
but
it's fair, yeah.
So question.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just it's the 8 additional classrooms. Is that then taking away Spanish and art?
that isn't my goal. Is to not impact other class. No, it is not. I don't want to take classrooms away from other programs. I only want to enhance programs.
That's my question. And then would that 8 to 10 classrooms also account for a new community that has maybe 100 plus homes?
Correct.
I think it would.
Correct. At least 8 classes. I mean, again, I want to do more of a.
Like right now, the kindergartners in Kendall and even Cam's class had 5
Right,
sections already.
right.
So.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So I mean, we shouldn't. I think when numbers get thrown out, people get attached to those numbers. I would say let's talk about a range, 8 to 15, if that's okay, because I don't want someone to say, well, you said 8, now you're coming back and it's 10. You know what I mean? It's a range.
Just to clarify, so like, let's just say we decided, 6 classrooms was all we could add, just for the sake of argument.
Okay.
And we could do that tomorrow or in the near future. Is your point, like, whatever we decide to do, we want to have yes, address now, but have the flexibility to expand further if they're,
Yeah,
if needed, like,
exactly. I don't
and so
wanna
not
be
do it,
in there.
not
I
do it
wanna-
at all at the beginning. I mean, to wait until we have some clarity on what our new student population needs are gonna be, and like
I
move
just don't
forward
have to go
that
back
way.
to the drawing board
Yeah.
if we're gonna build something
the final
and then,
solution.
yeah,
Do
and
the
then
final
like
solution.
ask
Okay.
the community again for a referendum on something after we just,
I'm with
you
Becky.
know, raised taxes. Like I like raised our life and safety fund, you know, like I cannot do that. I will not ask the community. I will not first raise their taxes and then ask for a referendum after. I just won't do it. So I wanna make sure that whatever we decide, we're doing it one time and everyone's aware of it and we get input and then we go forward. That's.
I agree with that.
But at what, like, what information will we need at what point in order to, like you say, make that decision to move forward, I guess is what I'm curious about.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's why we need to meet with LT, we need more clarity on this, like they were specific in that meeting that they wanted to wait for the next board to, you know, be seated before they made any real
Right.
decisions. So now we have that, right? So now I think we're in a better place to, you know, approach them and find out more concretely as to what their plans are and who their potential buyers are, in my opinion. But that's just my single opinion, right,
Yeah.
of the board.
What if you just simplified the picture? It doesn't matter about land sale or who moves in or the community flipping over. You just move the fifth graders back to the elementary school.
Could we-
That's like that's a known quantity of people, more or less. If that was like a higher priority. We know how many fifth graders we have, we want to move them to the elementary school.
4 classrooms.
How do we do that? You know, so
Well, right,
it
but to
doesn't
Becky's point, though, we
depend
build
on.
the 4 classrooms and then we have to go
Or we
back
take
again for.
Spanish and we take, you
I mean,
know,
but then, to your point, Becky, you're
Music.
not thinking about flexibility or the future, but as much, but this much we know, the fifth graders, there's 100 students, and we want them to go to the elementary school.
But that cost was, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, was close to like $10 million, right? Just build the 4 classrooms again.
yeah, new construction is right now,
So
they're
if we achieve that at a cost of 10 million, we still have a whole list of other goals that we have to address, right?
But I'm
To
just
Becky's
saying, it
point.
kind of eliminates some of these variables if LT sells the land, or how many people move into these townhouses, or.
The problem is if you build
Yeah.
4 classrooms, it's this, there's this kind of common misconception that, well, just build on top of it, just build a second floor. You can't do that. You can't do that on a school. I know in a house, you can raise the roof and you can build a second floor. This isn't a house, right? Our architect, I mean, his response was, you want a second floor, you have enough money, I'll build a second floor, and you'll have giant poles in the middle of every single classroom on the first floor. So, again, we can build the 4 classrooms, probably in budget, without, you know what I mean? Maybe without a referendum. Again, I don't wanna overpromise and underdeliver, but it's a Band-Aid to the problem, because you can't then,
And you still
5
spend
years
money to
later,
raise the
say,
funds.
okay, we're gonna just put a second floor in that. That is not an option.
Why?
Because the engineering just doesn't work like that. I mean, you build, if you're gonna build a 2-story addition, you build a 2-story addition. If you build a 1-story addition, you build a 1-story.
You'd almost have to have it steel in place. for the
Yeah, I
second
mean, it
floor,
doesn't,
Cover it
and
up with
that's
something.
not really a thing.
No.
I mean, I asked them, have you done that? And they were like, we don't, that's not a
That just
thing.
is hard for me to wrap my head around.
Fair enough.
No, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying.
I'm just telling you
that
what he told me.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing, it's just hard to think about not being able to do a second floor in an addition. But I'm thinking of a house, I suppose.
I mean, there's a way to do
the way
it
to
aesthetically not.
do it would just be like, you build it without a second floor in anticipation you're gonna add a second floor. But at the same time, that's almost like then a second round of funding that needs to happen. So
Oh,
it's
that's-
almost like, just do it all at once, like,
Yeah.
because you don't wanna build it like the single floor that we have now, because then
Right.
you can't put it on top and then.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so, but if you're preparing to build on the second floor, you know, rip the Band-Aid and.
But just to hear that it's not possible to build a 2-story.
We can build it from the beginning. If you
Oh,
start
that's
with
what I
it,
was-
oh, I'm
that-
sorry, I
I thought you were-
misunderstood, Mary, no.
like with
We
new
can build a
construction.
two-story addition.
On later.
I'm sorry,
You
I
say
was
to
saying you
add it
can't
on.
build
Oh.
one and then 10 years later build on top of it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You can build it,
That
I'm
makes-
sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay.
You can build a two-story addition. I mean, you can, right? But then again, there are some things to think about, right? Space, traffic, the fact that the neighbors will literally have a wall when they, kind of look into their backyard. Like, those are all things to consider. And again, they're not deal breakers, but they're things that would need to be considered as you move forward. Again, I think we're kind of getting off track on this conversation. My goal was really just, what are the priorities? Are these the priorities? Are there additional? So I can come and bring a plan, and then we can kind of dig into that. I think we're dealing with a lot of what ifs.
Like at the end of the day, it sounds like high level, the board agrees these are the priorities. The question then I feel turns is like, do you feel like you can come up with some thoughts and ideas to achieve these?
I do.
So, I mean.
I do.
Are we prepared to approve those ideas?
Right. Well,
That's part of the.
I think that's a step forward, right? Like, I think let's come up with the plans, let's get feedback, again, plans are plans, you don't have to approve them, right? But yes, we can meet these priorities in a different way, to answer your question.
A fully informed plan. That's like
Yeah,
all
for
that
sure.
I really want to make, a fully informed decision. That's really, I think, all we all want to do.
This might be a little,
I
little dark, but I think.
to Charles' point, like, right, if you're able to say, hey, look, we're gonna build a two-story addition. And so then you're gonna accomplish bringing back the fifth graders. And you're gonna accomplish early childhood through that. Right, you've checked a lot of these boxes, right? So then, if we're gonna build additional houses, the community, I think, in large part will be much more understanding and on board, like, hey, we need another campus. And then we address that.
But again, to Becky's point though, like, we build a two-story, we build 8 classrooms,
But if you
two-story,
can
and
do that
then
within
3 or 4
budget.
years later, well, but within budget, it's still $15-20 million, like, we still have a limited resource pool.
Yeah, but you're not asking the community to do something.
You're like with our fund balance initially used?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but we were talking about roughly a $12 million project, we're new construction, 2 stories, 8 classrooms,
Eight classrooms
you're
is
gonna
gonna
get
be
to
more
$20
than
million,
12.
like.
It's gonna be
you know,
more than 12, for
And
sure.
so that eats some funds and how much we can raise and like.
But the point is, to your point, there's no perfect solution.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, this is why we do this work, right? These are the hard decisions that we've got to make, and now that I kind of know where our priorities are, we've all kind of recommitted to these things. Let me work with my team, let me work with our architects, let me bring back a plan. I don't want to commit myself to May, so maybe either May or June, I'll bring some plans and keep the board updated as we go, and
meet with LT and.
I mean, with LT, yeah,
I feel like.
do everything we can. I mean,
And
they don't
then
even seat
Park
their board
District,
until the
perhaps?
end of
Okay.
April, beginning of May.
Okay.
So, okay, we may want to let their board members get a meeting under their belt or something like that first, but.
They meet twice a month anyway, right?
That's true.
We can show up at the meeting.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, what do you
Can
think?
I add a potential, another priority that is unrelated? Well, kind of, but it falls under the safety and security, and it's something we've talked about quite a bit, is the school street situation.
Yeah.
How, I mean, I don't wanna refer to May of 20, whatever that was, when we had police officers that couldn't exit our street. And we've talked about the ambulances and the access points, and now twice the street's been inaccessible from German Church. So to me, that really is quite concerning safety-wise, especially if we're talking about potentially increasing the amount of vehicles. So I think some due diligence on just trying to figure out a feasible solution for both traffic and safety, whether that be a turning, I don't know what it is, but.
Would that be with the village as well? I guess
Village Park District, it'd probably.
Is that
It might, I don't know if we
Range or
talked
both,
about it
or-
in the realm of like, in this, back to Becky's point about talking with LT, when we talked about them about, potentially giving us, or offering us some land in whatever respect that is, we talked about how that could satisfy like a horseshoe in and out of the elementary school and things like that. So
That
there,
would be
that
huge.
is
Right.
one of the topics that came up, would
That
be
would be
like
great. Right.
opening up the access, points to to the elementary,
That would be
with
great.
some of that land space.
That,
Cool.
Should be a
anything we
conversation with the park district too, yeah.
could, right, anything we can do would be great.
Added to the list.
Thank you.
With 2 stars next to it.
Thank you. That falls under the security,
I think that was already.
or safety?
Yeah. Yeah, the only other thing that I would just like to say is.
We're making
just
our wish list.
Something
Go
like,
ahead.
well, it's just more of like a not, like I'd prefer not have mobiles be the answer.
Oh.
That's a temporary solution to a long-term problem, and I think that would reflect on, like lack of planning.
Fair.
That's my opinion. And
That's
I know mobiles
that's
can
what
be really
persisted.
nice.
I didn't know,
No,
were we thinking
that's
of
good.
that?
No, but like if all of a sudden there's an extra 100 kids and we've
Right,
done
where to
nothing,
put them, yeah.
then all of a sudden it's just, you gotta find a home for them.
Yeah, no,
So mobiles would be the answer, and that's, I think,
Fair.
whatever. Sorry, I just had to.
It's fair.
put your 2 cents in, I like.
4 years.
All right, that was good. Thank you. That's the direction I think we needed in order to come up with a plan for you guys. So the goal would be May or June, have that conversation with LT, see if we can get a little bit more clarity. But starting to put some pen to paper and think about some solutions. Great. Thanks, guys. Roll on. All right. All right, freshman preparedness report. Over the past several years, the district has worked with Lyons Township High School to implement a freshman preparedness report. The goal of the survey is to get feedback directly from students about how well prepared they feel they are for the rigors of high school. Lyons Township High School provides associate schools with first semester grade information, which gives us a fuller picture of how our students perform at LT. Tonight I'll present the results of the survey and then kind of an overview of how our freshmen are performing in the classes. So,
When is the survey administered?
it's administered generally after the first semester, so they do it in either March or February or March-ish.
Okay.
The goal is to get the kids. I'm already jumping in. The goal is to get the kids to have had their first experience with finals, right? We want to make sure that they're surveyed after they've had their first experience with finals, because it kind of gives them that true full semester high school experience. So again, the class of 2028 has 694 students, just actually quite a bit of a smaller class for LT. Our class, however, is 98.
Wait, how much is, oh,
Yeah,
694, sorry.
694. Did I say 690?
300
694.
I agree.
And so our class of 2028 has 98 students in it. So for us, again, about 100 is generally the number we use, so right in there. Of students that took the survey. So I was explaining to Becky, she asked some questions about the data. There was a bit of a snafu. So the way that this survey had been given in the past, prior to Dr. Waterman, when Dr. Kilray was the superintendent, basically a link would be sent out to all freshmen with, and they would be encouraged to fill it out. And I mean, some of you may have talked to 15-year-olds or been 15-year-olds yourself. You're not super, unless directed to do so, you may not necessarily do it. We get 12, 15, maybe 20 in a good year kids that would fill it out. And so I would do the report and give the information, because again, it had that grade information there, which does include the entire class, which was helpful. But when Dr. Waterman came, he started having the survey administered in PE classes. So it was just part of class, everybody took it. Our response rate went up to about 90%. Great. What happened this year is there was two sections in PE where the teacher forgot to give the survey, and they happened to be sections that were Pleasantdale heavy, and so we only had, we only had about 60 people. So we only had about 59, we only had 59 kids fill it out. And when I asked Dr. Waterman, like, oh, do you think maybe you can have that teacher go back and give the survey? He's like, no, we're not going back and give the survey. Like, you'll be okay. So again, keep that in perspective. And again, still good data, still useful, but again, grain of salt, right? The other piece to remember is these are all self-reported numbers, right? So these are 15-year-olds giving their perception of how they feel on that day. It's a snapshot, it's not a full kind of panoramic painting, if you will.
Everything but the grades are not self-reported, right?
Correct. The grades are from LT. The perception data, though, is all self-reported. And again, we have 11 categories, and we kind of distilled the survey down into a couple of into some kind of easier to digest chunks throughout this presentation. Again, you can see some of the categories in which we surveyed the kids. So again, in the area of middle school, what I did, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the board said, like, hey, can we have last year's data so we have some comparison data? So in the gray is 2024 and the black is 2025. Again, you want to look at kind of these two as positive, these two areas as negative. So I like to take these two in totality. So you look at, like, I felt safe at school. You have like 88, 89% of kids saying, yeah, I felt safe at school. Or these two, having an adult, a trusted adult is something that we want every kid to feel like they have a trusted adult in our school. So that kind of adult advocate for every kid is something that's important to us as well. And then also feeling good and respected and treated well at school.
Doesn't 61% seem like an extremely low number of people to say, I always feel safe at school? Is that normal?
I mean,
That's an F, so.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be an F academically.
Well,
Is that a
I mean-
sorry.
Again,
Like what, I don't know, what can we do to improve on, on kids feeling safe at
Yeah.
school?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I mean, we are, and again, we talk about this later in the presentation, kind of that whole SEL piece, making sure kids have small groups to be able to talk through issues with. We have our WIN program at the middle school that allows for, again, kids to build those relationships with one another, build those relationships with staff.
And the school
we
that
have
we're
our
talking about here is LT, right?
No,
It's
this is
not-
middle school. This is a middle school.
Oh, it is. Oh, I
this
thought
is
it
a
was
middle
LT.
school. Yeah,
Okay.
this is a middle school. And so we also have things like our Tiger Tip line. We have ways for kids.
Don't we do like the connectedness? Like,
We
don't
do a
check-in,
connectedness
like,
survey,
do you-
absolutely.
Right, connection.
And so we use that data kind of internally to help make sure the kids feel connected. And again, you got to remember, self-reported. This could be the first time they ever did a self-perception survey as well. There are 40 students missing from this data as well. So again, some things to keep in mind as we go through.
These questions, I'm sorry, are these questions by LT or by us?
The superintendents created the survey, the township superintendent.
And then do they explain like what safe means? Or
That's
what
the
fair means? Like, I think those are kind of
No,
vague
they don't go
terms
into
of-
detail about
Okay.
physical safety, emotional safety.
Right, that's a
Yeah,
really good
because that
point.
seems, I mean, the word fair is
Sure.
terrible.
Or it's
you
like, do they know they're
sorry.
talking about at school?
I know,
Yeah.
I know about
At
superintendent,
middle
but
school, like,
Yeah,
that's unfair.
yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Can I ask a question real quick?
yeah.
Does this survey at all collect kind of like subjective, like, so if you said, I never feel safe, or I sometimes don't, does it give you an option to put in like, does it prompt, like, why?
It doesn't prompt for a, there's a comment at the end,
Okay.
but it doesn't prompt, like, if you put in never, a thing,
Yeah.
tell us why, it doesn't have that kind of intelligence built in.
I would
It'd
be
be
so.
nice if they make you do it.
Yeah, I mean, because we do it like on like when we use
Our
Survey Monkey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it, if you rated it at, like one of these like lower buckets or whatever, it kind of prompts you to say like, gotta
Yeah, but that's a self-reported thing. You actually could skip that question.
Right,
not-
but I
not
wonder
do
if,
it. But
like-
we've said,
Yeah.
if you put a lower rating in, you have to explain why. I
Yeah.
mean, we can tell the kids, we can work with the survey company and get a comment section put there instead, and put a note that says, if you said sometimes or never, can you let us know why?
Yeah.
And kids may or may not fill it.
Right, but it
yeah,
would be insightful.
good feedback. Good feedback for as every year we review the survey and make slight tweaks and adjustments so we can make that tweak.
And I also, twofold, one, I'm curious, like, I know it's supposed to be reflective of how they feel here, but also, are they also confused and thinking like how they feel at
Good
school?
point.
So I would almost
Yeah,
do like a
that's what I
fill-in, like, I felt safe when I was at Pleasantdale, like, and I would be.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be when I was at middle school because
Oh,
every
oh,
freshman is
right,
taking it
right.
for every, yes, they identify their middle school because we're able to get our results.
Right.
But
Is it digital? Is it a digital?
it is. Mhm.
What platform do they use?
We use a company called school perceptions.
Can't they put in like a skip logic, just whatever school they
Maybe.
select, they can just.
I
What
can,
is
I can
it?
ask them.
I'm just curious if it was more pointed to reflect their experience here, if that percentage would change.
Yeah.
Because some kids might be like, oh, at LT with all these, I don't know.
Well, and your point is a
You
good
know?
one. They're taking it in a moment where they're having to reflect back, but they're in a current school
Right.
situation. So you're right.
The 14
Those things can all get kind of muddled
Right.
as they fill out the survey. And again, I can't stress enough. They're 15. This
Right.
also could be the first time they're filling out a perception survey, right? So again,
And
something to.
Can I ask one
No,
more
go
question?
ahead, you.
No?
Have we considered, maybe so it's not the first time, have we considered maybe like giving our 8th graders, for example, a perception survey
Sure.
as they're exiting out? So it's like, you know what, they're seeing these questions before they see them when they go to high school, and
That was my same train of thought,
Oh,
because
that'd be
I was.
interesting, yeah.
yeah,
to-
because then we
to see
could
the
say like,
difference
oh, when they
between-
filled it out here, when they were leaving
No,
8th grade,
that's-
how did you feel about
Yeah.
middle school? Did you feel
Right.
safe? And then maybe you'd see if it aligns or not when they report back
It
when
would
they're in
be
high
good
school.
data.
Sounds
That's
like a
good
great
idea.
win activity.
Look at that, right, we were all on the same page, that was my question, so I would be curious to see what, yeah, you beat me, but like, what's the, you know what I'm saying, like, if it's 100% when they're taken here, but then at LT it's 60, you're like,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, good point. This is LT. This is their reporting on their experience at LT. So again, looking at being involved in clubs and sports and activities. Again, it's a weird question because either you're in clubs and sports and activities or you're not. It's not, you know what I mean? So that could be one where kids didn't necessarily understand. So I think the combination of these two is probably pretty important. You know what I mean? I would assume it's about 87% of kids who are involved in some sort of activity or club or sport, leadership experience at high school. Knowing how to keep those materials organized, you're looking at 48% and 46% kind of in those agree and strongly agree areas. Getting help when they need it, and that's an important skill, right? Being able to go to a teacher, go to office hours, or jump online with a teacher or a friend. Those are important skills to have. And then for me, one of the most important ones on this is I have friends at school. And research shows even just one friend really has a positive impact on kids. Those kids who report kind of no friends are the ones who engage in self-injurious behavior or are really kind of show those signs of depression. So I think that's a good sign that you have 66% of kids strongly agreeing and 34% of kids agreeing and none who disagree this year or strongly disagree. I think that's
great.
Yeah. Some of the adjustments that kids felt as they transitioned to high school, and generally these are the ones that we see in the kind of top, the top transition issues, and again that kind of transition dip for them, balancing those academic and co-curriculars. Again, when you go off to high school, you have the increased rigor of the academic piece, but then you're also in a much more highly competitive situation when it comes to athletics and clubs and activities and things like that. And being able to balance those two things, I know that's something my high schoolers struggle with pretty mightily. Managing their time, keeping up with more homework and greater workload, and then those higher expectations are things that our kids reported can be difficult for them. So again, those are all things I think we probably all experienced in our academic career, and those are things that as we mature and we grow and we develop, we're able to overcome. And LT does a really nice job of supporting kids and making sure that that they're trying to help kids and work through with kids and families on those types of things. Okay. Now as we get into the preparedness for different subjects, again, kind of a real quick and dirty overview. And again, I think it's important to look at kids who reported that they felt that their preparedness was either great or good, and those are kind of the positive, and the fair and poor, maybe ones that not so positive there. So again, you see that kids going off to high school, looking at that kind of 80-90% area of feeling prepared for their classes. I think it's also important to note that not all students take a world language And some students may defer history until sophomore year. So again, depending on electives and things like that that they may take, you know, I think English, math, science, generally everybody takes those. History and social studies and world language are things that kids may put off till later in their experience.
Hats
But
off to our math and Spanish teachers. That's amazing, like
Yeah.
comparatively speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these are really good numbers. We're really, really happy with how our students are reporting their preparedness as they move off to the high school.
Do we have the all students data for the other data points?
I don't, not for the perception.
Can we get them or no?
Possibly. The company
for
generally
it's
gives
just
us.
obviously great for comparison.
It's something that I can look into. As again, like I said, last year we added, or maybe it was last year we added the previous year's data. Let me see if I can get the.
Because if you show me those numbers in a vacuum, I don't necessarily.
Fair enough.
They don't mean much to me, but when you show them in comparison to the.
Fair.
Like other districts, is that what you're saying?
No,
Other
just
grade districts?
Yeah, other elementary
Yeah.
theater
The
districts.
the high
Just
school
show
gives
us
us
the
our
comparison.
kids compared to the township. What we don't want this to turn into is ranking all of the schools, right? Like, well, here's Park, here's Gurry, here's, you know, McClure, you know what I mean?
But just this all
Yeah,
students
I
data
can-
would be
I
fine,
can
you know
find
what I
that.
mean? Because, again, it gives context
Fair.
and clarity to the numbers.
Fair. Okay, moving on. So some of the additional preparedness information, again, that good kind of good and great areas that we want to combine, and then the fair and poor. Again, kids, you know, 90% of the kids feeling that they were well prepared for academics, their study skills are kind of reporting high numbers there. Again, it's really, stress management is an area that we want to try and continue to address. And I think that as kids transition to the high school, there is that transition dip. And I think we see a pattern there. We're going to continue to work through that. We have, again, things like WIN at the at the middle school. We have social emotional programs at both schools. We have, we're adding another social worker next year to help with some of that kind of stress management piece and SEL piece. So again, not that we're definitely not ignoring this data, or these are things that we knew we needed to continue to work on and will continue to work on. All right, so now I want to transition and talk a little bit about the academic outcomes. And then, like Becky had said, this is not perception data. This is data that we get directly from LT. And so I have each, this is where a pretty data heavy presentation, so I apologize for that. But we have math here. I have each subject and each core subject kind of laid out here. So again, you see really the bulk of our kids taking those accelerated classes and really, quite honestly, doing very well in those classes. Those A's and B's is where you want to see our kids. And you see them really doing well and not high numbers over here, right? Or even really high numbers over here. But again, you see kids in kind of those higher level courses, which is going to make some more sense as we move into when I start talking about things like GPA and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind as you look at these numbers, that when you see words like Excel, honors, you know, you're seeing more Pleasantdale kids in those courses, right? English, again, you have kids, our kids doing very well, 37 of our kids getting A's, 33 kids getting B's, 4 C's, no D's and F's in English. Again, kudos to our
Can I ask a question?
absolutely.
Is this reflective of just the kids that took the survey?
No,
or
this is
entire-
every kid. This
So
is
how
all
many did
kids.
we have total that went?
98, but again, some kids will maybe don't take certain courses and things like that.
We had
Or-
98 kids that went to LT?
Correct.
Okay.
Current freshman.
Current freshman.
Current freshman.
Okay, thank you.
Science, you know, talk about, let's bust out that STEM lab, right? But again, I mean, this data would show that kids are doing very well in their science courses as well. And you see 36 of our kids in Bio Excel. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, 36 kids who just got an A. I mean, it's really 36 plus 14 plus 6. So again, really very impressive numbers here. Social studies, again, kids doing great there. Large number of those A's and B's, what we're looking for. So I did 2 slides for world language. I did Spanish and then Spanish, because our kids do transition to the high school. If they've gone through our program, they move into Spanish 2, year 2 of Spanish. So these are kids who took either didn't take a language or took Spanish with us and then transitioned to either French, Italian, or Latin. And again, not a ton. Most kids at LT will end up taking Spanish. There are other languages offered, German, things like that. Our kids didn't. I only did the ones our kids actually took.
We need more Latin.
What's that?
We need more kids in Latin.
Latin is, I mean,
It's very
there's a lot of
helpful.
value to Latin.
Yeah,
It's
if
very
you're going
helpful.
into the medical field or
Medical-
becoming an attorney,
100%.
Latin is all
100%. So again, now these are our Spanish numbers. Again, you see most kids going into that year 2. Couple of kids 4 kids who 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, who went into kind of that first year of Spanish. But a large number of kids going into those kind of higher second year courses, higher level courses, higher weighting, things like that. And then so if we bring it all together, what I've done in the past is I've provided the board and the community with this graph that LT gives us, and it really shows where our kids fall on a 4.0 scale. In the past, as I looked at this, I was like, that's a little strange. Generally, this 4.0 is higher. The blue is higher than the yellow here. We're good here. We're good here. We really want to be kind of like these two higher. And so I dug in a little bit deeper. And generally, what I do is I include the unweighted 4.0 grade point average. But LT also gives us the weighted version. And if you look at the weighted version, what you see is, again, 3s and 4s. What this tells us, what this data tells us, is our kids are taking harder courses. Yeah. So yeah, their grades overall on a 4.0 scale may not look as impressive because they're taking harder courses. So again, I think we shouldn't jump to conclusions when we say, like, the data tells a story, right? And so the story here is, that's odd that this wouldn't be higher. Oh, this explains it. They're taking harder courses. So again, just wanted to give that perspective as we kind of dig into that a little bit. So again, just some takeaways that we want to continue to prepare students for the rigors of high school. I think we're doing a great job doing that. Continue to look at ways that we can support kids from a social emotional standpoint, make sure they have those, in my opinion, the greatest gift we can give to kids are the gifts of executive functioning, study skills, knowing how to stand up in front of a group of adults and speak, which clearly we're doing a pretty good job with. And then wanting to end with a quote, maybe not as good as Griffin's AI quote. Maybe I'll ask AI next time.
There you go.
Any other questions as we close this one out? Awesome, really great questions, really good feedback, guys. Thank you.
That's one of my favorite presentations.
It's so fun,
hearing how
isn't
they
it?
actually do once they leave.
Yeah.
Pleasantdale.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next we'll move into item 9, items for the next agenda. So on that we have facilities update, review school board section 2 board policy, strategic roadmap update, approve hot lunch fees, approve fiscal year 2026 transportation contract, approve cleaning services for fiscal year 2026, and approve the PTTO intergovernmental agreement. Okay. Item 10 is open forum. Did we have anyone that wanted to address the board? Okay. Tom Ara?
Thank you. I'm here today as a resident and follow up to last month's request for engineering project status for remaining safety and security projects, which were communicated to the 2023 Citizen Engagement Committee, specifically the middle school play area, which I was informed that the district architect projected the cost to be $1.5 million, which was outside the district's budget for such a project. So here we are a year and a half later, and I still have the following questions. What is an acceptable budget for the middle school play area modification project? what are the District 107 target project dates, specifically engineering alternatives to middle school play area and installation complete. As another point of reference related to the middle school parking lot safety, I recently witnessed students playing in the parking lot, which was bordered by wooden sawhorses. As they played, the ball bounced outside the play area into the parking lot. My observation raised obvious student safety concerns, as the student didn't even pay attention to what was going on in the parking lot, so I was really concerned for the student. As a reminder, the community, the 2023 community survey showed enhanced safety and security had the highest community support, which was 67%, and I've heard the board here talk about that tonight. While building an early childhood center had the lowest support of 23%. Maybe we should refocus our efforts on the community's priorities and ensure the District 107 safety gets completed. Once again, all it takes is one accidental or planned event to injure students and teachers. Ramifications related to any of these injuries would be devastating to the families and the school district residents, and I firmly believe that. I heard some terminology tonight that may be answered to part of this, because I heard something about middle school separation of play areas, and I don't know if that's part of the solution. But that is the first time I've heard that. I never heard that before. So that may be the solution. I'm looking forward to an answer to what is the plan. Thank you.
Next, we'll move into closed session. So we need a motion for the Board of Education to go into closed session for the following. Student disciplinary matters, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in an educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. And then finally, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mr. Zona?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Marchione?
Yes.